A typical home in Lake Stevens, Washington, where weekdays start early.
So we start our day anywhere from 5:15 to 6 o'clock.
The reason? Traffic.
There are about 4 kids just on our street of 10 houses that go to Caballero and ride the bus. And it picks up about 6:30, even though school doesn't start till 7:15. We have 10 houses on the street, and of the 10 houses, everyone drives the Trestle every day to commute.
The Trestle, a frustrating fact of life in Snohomish County. One that thousands of families have to plan their lives around every day.
When we get up and what we do evolves around the Trestle because it's so unpredictable. I don't know exactly when I need to leave. It's a pretty big range. It can be a little harrowing. I had to call the office to say, hey, I'm going to miss my first appointment. Can you let them know I'm not going to be there? The hard part too is on the way home, if there's a school event or scouts or something at the church, there's been many times that I've had to call my wife and say, hey, I can't make it, I'm going to be late. So it can be pretty frustrating.
It's a common dilemma in this region. Explosive growth amongst challenging geography. Between the I-5 corridor and some of the fastest growing communities in Washington lies a floodplain near the mouth of the Snohomish River. One particularly vital east-west crossing is the elevated portion of U.S. Highway 2 known as the Trestle, an aging roadway with choke points at either end that has been a trouble spot for decades.
So the Trestle's been a problem ever since I've lived here and going to high school here in the late 80s. The Trestle's always been a problem. In the mornings, heading west is awful. I mean, there's just no good way for a commuter to live in Lake Stevens to get to any Job Corps into Everett or into Seattle.
Despite the traffic, Lake Stevens and its neighboring cities still offer families a terrific quality of life, and for now, buildable land available for affordable housing. But urban growth is exceeding what leaders agreed to in the 2008 Puget Sound Regional Council. The PSRC projected steady growth, but ideally reaching out to the year 2040. With communities to the south near capacity and with single-family homes at a premium, cities to the north and east of I-5 are taking in an increasing share of new residents, especially families.
People are still having children, population is still growing, the job growth here is enormous. These people have to live somewhere. And if you can't afford to live close to your job center, you're going to go out north, and hence Lake Stevens, Marysville, Monroe, all those outlying areas are picking up a lot of that growth.
In fact, many families choose to live in this area to get access to the schools, which have a great reputation. But even that is affected by the Trestle and the traffic problems it causes.
We have a unique situation on our south end where we have our Caballero Mid-High School, which is just off of 20th, which feeds into the Trestle. We've had to start a lot of our routes early. Our earliest student that gets on is at 6:15 in the morning. And we all know that high school kids, middle school kids, they need their sleep, but they're not getting it. So when they're having to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to get a 6 o'clock bus, that's hard.
One solution might be to bring more jobs to the east side of the Trestle and lessen the number of commuters. But businesses that operate here already can attest to the fact that dealing with the Trestle choke point is a cost that's not easy to bear.
Yeah, we work in aerospace, defense, outer space, and commercial sectors. And within each of those sectors, there's quite a number of different products that we're building the parts for. So a material supplier will load up a big truck and they'll bring that material up here. It'll weigh anywhere from a couple 100 pounds to several tons. And those shipments are coming in hourly. And so if they have to make those runs and adjust their schedule off of what the Trestle's busy hours are, it affects their business and ours. We're not able to get things as often because they'll try to group up those shipments into a certain part of a day or a certain day of the week to try to avoid the traffic.
Snohomish Valley Roofing does all residential, and we work from the North King County line up through Skagit. In 2004, however, we were asked by our clientele to recycle the roofing that we were pulling off of their roofs. And so Dave and I established SVR, a division of our company that simply does hauling of recyclable materials. So what we were trying to do is we were trying to run a trucking company out of a place that's really hard to get in and out of. We need to start and end our day coming up Highway 9, coming across Highway 2 Trestle, and then logistically throughout that day, monitor vehicles up and down those corridors. It is a tricky part of managing this business, but the one thing that we just can't control is the amount of time that it's going to take our employees and our goods to get anywhere in the sound because of the trestle.
I remember growing up in Lake Stevens, and my father was a city councilman and a mayor there, and discussions about what to do with the trestle as a corridor for connecting the communities to the east to the communities to the west, and the I-5 corridor has been an ongoing discussion and debate for many years. Probably the bigger significant factors that need to be considered is what does it mean in a public safety situation? I mean, it's no question that the Northwest has the potential to have earthquakes. And so when you look at the ability to be able to move back and forth from east to west in Snohomish County, I mean, that should raise its significance dramatically.
Like the old Alaskan Way viaduct in Seattle, the U.S. Highway 2 trestle is not built to withstand a serious earthquake. But even now, its narrow lanes and lack of shoulders on the westbound side make it a hazardous roadway, especially given the more than 80,000 vehicles on average that cross it every day.
If there's an accident or somebody needs to be transported to the local hospital, which is located in Everett, our response is delayed because of the impact of this traffic. It keeps it backed up. Trying to get through that takes a lot of time because people have to move and there's not much place to move to.
Time is absolutely of the essence in fire and EMS rescue services. The quicker we can get to a patient, the quicker we can get to an emergency, fire, you name it, is going to be better for the outcome of the patient or the situation. One of our main priorities is to find out where problems are in our district, and response problems would be one of them. So we look for troublesome areas, and the US 2 trestle is a troublesome area. So we know that if we have to navigate the trestle during high traffic times, that's going to be a problem for us. And so it's something we forecast, we expect, but we love to see fixed.
When I think about the lifeline that the trestle provides for communities east of I-5, if anything happened, like a natural disaster that cut off that lifeline to I-5 in the west part of the county, it would be a huge hardship on residents, on businesses, schools, I mean, all kinds of impacts. So when I think about the trestle, this trestle has to be replaced. We have to do something. Not doing anything, in my mind, is not an option.
You hear it a lot that, as soon as you build it, it's already outdated, right? It's already too little too late. But in this case, this has been too little too late for a long, long time.
There's no getting away from the trestle. I wish there was.
This whole thing impacts everything we do. It impacts our schools, it delays emergency response, and it delays us trying to get in to deal with the businesses that we all have to do and the commodities that we have to buy and everything else. Everything is delayed because of this traffic.
And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse, obviously, because we've thrown some Band-Aids on it. The state is throwing some Band-Aids on it, but no fixes.
It's sad that we can't be more proactive and be forward-thinking and get it all put together before we get to where we need Band-Aids after Band-Aids after Band-Aids before we actually get the real solution.